This factory in Sri Lanka produces more than 30,000 metric tons of coconut a year. But almost none of it stays in the country. It's exported to Europe, the US, and Canada. The demand for coconut products has exploded in recent decades, with companies touting it as a superfood. US consumption of coconut oil has spiked nearly 30% since 2018. This company, Navik Mills, didn't even exist until 5 years ago. Today, it's one of the largest coconut processors in the country, making about $40 million a year selling coconut oil, cream, water, and milk. But feeding the globe's coconut obsession can be dangerous. Farmers like Shihan Madhushanka climb 80-foot trees with their bare hands and feet to harvest the fruit one by one. In the factory, workers brave spinning saws to shell thousands of coconuts a day. All because of the West's insatiable thirst for natural coconut products. But are their health benefits overhyped?
I don't think a superfood tag should be attached to any food because I think what it does is create consumer confusion.
We head to Sri Lanka to see how far producers are going to satisfy the globe's coconut craving. Coconuts have been a staple food in Sri Lanka for millennia. Today, it's one of the biggest producers in the world, growing roughly 2.5 million metric tons a year. But farmers face challenges to keep up with this pace. For one, trees take a while to grow, sometimes more than 6 years before they produce any coconuts. They can live up to a century, growing fruit every month and a half during their lifetime. To make sure they're constantly harvesting ripe fruit, farmers manage massive forests in rotation. Harvesting a new area every day means farmers can also inspect the palms for any pest infestation. White flies and Asian rhinoceros beetles are coconut palms' biggest enemies. These giant beetles burrow into the core and eat the nutrients. If a tree is too far gone, farmers have to burn and remove it to prevent the beetles from spreading. Farmers carry their picking tools as they head out to harvest. That stick is one way to reach the coconuts without putting anyone at risk. But often, the only way to get the fruit is to climb. Shahan started scaling palms 4 years ago. With only his hands and feet, he shimmies up the tree. It takes him only 2 to 3 minutes to reach the top. Now, he's 80 feet up, with no rope to protect him. Shahan says he's never fallen, but a fall from this height could be deadly. He knows which coconuts are ready when he hears water sloshing around inside. He'll repeat this daunting climb on dozens of trees today. One tree yields up to 80 coconuts a year. Farmers gather them up for sorting and drying. The drier the coconut, the easier it is to peel off the inedible outer husk. Farmers earn under $5 a day, which is less than the average salary in the country. To bridge the gap, Navik Mills told us it covers the school fees for the farmers' children. They load the coconuts on trucks bound for Navik Mills' factory just up the road. This is the second sorting stage. Imports for coconut oil have surged across the West. So to keep pace, the company introduced these saws. They doubled the speed at which they could remove the fibrous coconut shells.
මැෂින් එකෙන් අතින් කපනවා නම් පැයකට 200 250ක් විතර. මැෂින් එකෙන් කපනවා නම් 400 450 අතර වගේ කපන්න පුළුවන්.
But workers have to be careful. Flying pieces of coconut shells have nicked workers' eyes before.
අපිට අනිවාර්යෙන් hand gloves අනිවාර්යෙන් දීලා තියෙනවා. goggles අනිවාර්යෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕන. boots දාන්න ඕන. එතකොට මේ apron එක අඳින්න ඕන.
In the main room, workers still peel the coconuts by hand.
මැෂින් වලට වැඩිය පිහි ඉක්ම වැඩි. සතිවල අපි 80000ක් වගේ කපන දවසුත් තියෙනවා.
But peeling knives are no less dangerous.
දැන් අපි මෙහෙම පොල් ගෙඩිය මේ පැත්තෙන් ආවහම අරගෙන මෙහෙම මේ තියෙන්නේ පෙයාරින් පිහිය. ඊට පස්සේ මේකෙන් මෙහෙම මේ අතත් පරිස්සම් කරගෙන මොකද ග්ලව්ස් නැහැනේ.
Ashoka Kumari peels about 2,500 coconuts in a shift.
ඒ ඉක්මනට රහින්නේ අපිට පඩි හදන්නේ අපි රහින ගෙඩි ගන්නට. එතකොට අපි හදන්නේ අපේ පඩිය වැඩි කරගන්න.
Making less than 1 cent a coconut, Ashoka usually walks away with just under $10 a day. Just like farmers, it's less than an average salary in Sri Lanka. A team of inspectors comes through to check the quality. If they see any impurities, they'll pull those bad coconuts out. Meanwhile, another peeler slices open the fruit and dumps out the water. From this point on, machines will do the bulk of the work. Because of their high fat content, peeled coconuts spoil fast, so the company has to process them quickly.
Only 12 hours we can keep it. Otherwise, we have to waste the product.
The company produces over a dozen coconut products, from ice cream and water to desiccated coconut and curry-infused milks. But oil and regular coconut milk are the company's best sellers. These machines press virgin coconut oil out of chunks and pump it into glass bottles. This line is making milk. Machines grate the meat into small flakes, extract the milk, and dispense it into cans. At this point, workers hop back into the process to inspect the sealed cans and move the racks into sterilizing machines. In Sri Lanka, coconut palms are known as the tree of life. They can feed a family of 5 for a century. And they're so important, it's illegal to cut one down before it matures. Coconuts make up roughly 15% of the calories Sri Lankans consume and earn the country over $800 million every year. The story of coconuts in Sri Lanka goes back thousands of years. It's said they originate from the western Pacific, but floated to the Pacific Islands in India on ocean currents. People here long cherish coconuts because one fruit packs so much power. It has water, fiber to make rope, calorie-rich meat, oil, and a hard shell ideal for crafts. It also had religious importance and was presented as an offering to Hindu gods. In the 16th century, merchants brought coconuts to the global stage. Spanish and Portuguese explorers coined the term coconut from their slang word for head because of the fruit's resemblance to a face. They spread the fruit across Africa and South America. In the early 1900s, bakers in the US and the UK started using desiccated coconut in their sweets. In the 2010s, Western countries co-opted coconuts as the newest superfood.
Health gurus and wellness experts are looking beyond traditional American foods for things that are nutrient dense.
Companies and wellness influencers claimed the fruit could improve bone health and blood sugar, promote weight loss, and help slow Alzheimer's thanks to its antioxidants.
Yeah, folks are so into it because there's some big health claim attached to it.
And manufacturers were quick to capitalize. Soon, coconut products weighed down shelves in health food stores across the US and Europe. Its water replaced Gatorade as a post-workout drink, and its pulp was turned into healthy ice cream. And coconut oil became a popular swap for other cooking oils because it has no cholesterol. But nutritionists say the promises the coconut craze was built upon aren't so straightforward.
So now all of a sudden it means that coconut oil has some magical power, therefore we must all use it, when that's not actually the case because we don't have the research. It's interesting when you look at food databases, it's usually foods that everybody's familiar with. Foods that are outside of the quote unquote dominant norm are often not as well researched.
Coconut water does have lots of electrolytes and can be a natural replacement for sports drinks.
It makes sense. All of the places that coconuts grow are tropical climates. It's hot, people sweat a lot, so it's naturally, hydrating for those folks.
But when it's overprocessed or packed full of sugar, that benefit goes away. And coconut oil is also really fatty. 87% saturated fat to be exact, much higher than butter. And it has more calories too. In 2017, the American Heart Association issued an advisory on saturated fats, warning coconut oil could increase bad cholesterol and cause cardiovascular events.
Yeah, if you're eating large amounts of coconut oil out of the blue, your body will let you know that it may or may not like it.
But Maya said that doesn't mean coconut oil has to be villainized.
There are some nutrients in coconuts that are really beneficial. You're going to get some vitamin C, some potassium, some fiber.
Remember, it has been used in cuisines around the world for thousands of years. It's just a matter of how you eat it.
What I would rather is that people are varying their oils, and if the cooking application warrants coconut oil, that they use it. I think it's completely fine to eat them. If it's culturally relevant, go for it. Even if it's not and you want to try it, go for it. What I do say to people is don't expect a miracle cure from it.
But all this health confusion hasn't stopped consumers from gulping down coconuts, allowing Sri Lanka to take its business well beyond its shores. While the country still eats roughly 75% of its own coconut production, big companies like this one have popped up solely to export the product. In just 5 years, Navik Mills has become one of the biggest coconut processors in Sri Lanka. Altogether, Navik Mills processes 30,000 metric tons of coconuts, and 95% of it ends up abroad, mostly in European and North American countries. And the company has gone to incredible lengths to keep up with surging demand. It had to plant 20,000 more trees and hire dozens of new workers.
Rebuilt a new plant, so expanding production line and fixing new machine.
But coconut farmers aren't the only superfood producers feeling this squeeze.
Foods that originate outside of the US, there was a massive peak in interest in the last 10 to 15 years. There was a time when that was not a thing.
In the Brazilian Amazon, farmers risk their lives to scale thin trees for acai. The berries have been a staple food here for centuries. But in the last decade, they've gained global fame, praised for their antioxidants and blended into a valuable frozen pulp. While an acai smoothie bowl can go for $15 in New York City, Brazilian farmers make as little as 20 cents a pound for the raw berries. In Peru, producers of quinoa have nearly tripled production to keep up with demand from consumers in the US and Europe. Soon, French and British farmers started growing quinoa themselves to grab a share of the profit. They flooded the market with too much supply and sent Peruvian prices plunging in 2015. In Mexico, avocado farmers have formed vigilante groups to fight off cartels gunning for their valuable crops. Avocado prices jumped 129% in a decade when it became a favorite for millennials.
I'm always wary of the next miracle food.
Because just like coconut, nutritionists are split on if these superfoods are actually as powerful as the marketing suggests.
There is a particular way that we talk about wellness in the US, and it's really from this Anglo-American, Anglo-European perspective. And we don't know how to quantify or categorize things that fit outside of dominant wellness culture.
What's left out is the historical and cultural context of superfoods and the acknowledgement of the people left to bear the brunt of our health food obsessions.
On the other end of every single thing that we put into our mouth is someone who's worked tirelessly to get it there.